Hello, everyone. So welcome to our first live Ask Microsoft Anything session. My name is Heike, and today we're going to talk about XDR and our Purview integration. And I have Sravan and Maayan with me. So Sravan, for those people that might not have seen our episode, please introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, hi. My name is Sravan Kumar Mera. I'm a product manager with Microsoft Purview. Excited to be here and answer all the questions.
Yes, and then Maayan as well, please. Quick introduction.
Yeah, first, if you didn't watch the episode, shame on you guys. But my name is Maayan. I am PM on XDR team, leading the integrations of Microsoft security products into our XDR umbrella.
Thank you. So for those who have joined, so thank you so much. And you can ask your questions, and then I will read those out and ask either Sravan or Maayan. But let's summarize a little bit what the topic is about. So because Purview is a big beast of a product, XDR is a big beast of a product. So what is that integration that we discuss, and what can people ask about?
Yeah, go ahead, Sravan.
Yeah, so I think, referring back to the episode that we've just done, the whole idea of this integration is to bring data security closer to the security operations center teams, where we want security operations center teams to have access to all data security related signals. So as a part of that, we have done a whole set of features, which includes integrating Purview alerts and other Purview signals into XDR. This includes the incident queue. This includes advanced hunting, graph APIs, and everything. So a whole host of benefits come with this, which is SOC analysts will now be able to see a correlated piece of information in a single place. They don't have to jump between portals to do that. So that is broadly the value proposition and the scope of the feature that we are talking about here.
Yeah.
It's a big, I want to caveat that it's a big area, I would say. When I say big, these are two huge components coming together, and there is a ton of value. So I'm sure there's a lot of questions, some of our customers will have on this. So I'm excited.
Yes. One question that we commonly get is about what do they need to do? Like, what are the steps to basically leverage either IRM in USX? So what does people need to do in order to get that value?
Maayan, do you want to take that on the USX part?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you first need to approve to send your IAM data from Purview, right? I mean, first of all, you need to give your permissions there, and then we have IRM data into XDR. All the correlations or the data tables and so on will be, automatically on our side.
So what do I need to do? I just need to, do I need to configure that? Is this like a toggle again that I need to turn on? Or do I need to do a little bit more and be more specific? Or is this with other integrations? I know we have toggle. That's it. And do you need to do also something on the Purview side?
Yes, Sravan, do you want to take it?
Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. There is a toggle on the Purview side. And the reason we put the toggle is typically all the Purview data is handled by different set of teams in the organization. There are organizations where they're okay to share the data over with the SOC teams. There are organizations which might want to do it in a more controlled way. To help them with that choice, we have given a toggle on the Purview side. You have to enable that toggle so that all the Purview data, in this case, is sent over to XDR. So to answer your question, yes, our customers have a choice and they have to enable that toggle.
Yeah, and you mentioned the other products, and I think this is a great point, Heike, because unlike, for example, Defender for cloud data, IRM data, it's very sensitive, and as Sravan said, we really want to make sure that you understand that you will share this data within XDR, even though it will completely safe. But again, we want you to be sure that you're willing to do that.
But again, as it is with all the other integrations, as well as I learned from all the episodes I did, someone who doesn't have the needed permissions won't see the data. So how does this usually work in an enterprise? Like, will they discuss this with the data security analyst and then ask for the permissions? Or is it more that now the data analyst goes into the Defender portal? But I could see also for a security operations analyst to get value of that additional data. So how is that usually discussed and done in an organization, in a larger one especially?
So let me start with that, and then maybe Maayan can jump in. Let me give three different possibilities here, right? Maybe that's so. First possibility: you're a data security analyst. You already have access to this data in Purview. Now you don't need to do anything else to access this data in Defender. You just pop over to Defender, and you can start seeing this data, assuming this. That's possibility one. Let's take possibility two. You are a unified security operations team. We do have customers where they unify all the operations, where the data security teams and the teams focusing on other assets, non-data assets, they all work out of the same platform. It's a single pane of glass approach. There, you just have to ensure all your security analysts have the data security permissions also. These permissions are in Purview as of now, but there you have to take that extra step of assigning the permissions, and you can decide who gets what permissions. For example, you might not want every analyst in your team accessing all this data. In fact, it might, that choice might be made for various reasons. So that choice is there.
Access, but not act on them. So, that they suddenly change some rules over there, but look at the data.
Yeah, because the data can also overwhelm you a lot of times, right? It's not always, unless you are equipped to understand it well. So to come back to our discussion, in scenarios like that, if you're a security analyst, you have to go into Purview and get these permissions. And there is an existing process for that. It's a one-step process to achieve that. So broadly, maybe those are the two possibilities. Even this applies even to organizations where the teams are different. The data security teams are different from security operations center teams. Even there, they have to go to Purview and get permissions.
Okay. I got a question. So how will this integration support advanced hunting and our guided hunting for those that like to get some guidance with creating KQL queries?
Sure.
I will take this with you again, Sravan, because you are coming to the XDR world.
Yeah. No, this is advanced hunting is my favorite feature in XDR to be honest with you. So we're bringing two new tables into advanced hunting. So the table names are data security behaviors and data security events. So these tables will bring in new data that will help SOC analysts understand data risks. For example, let's say there is something called a sensitivity label in the Purview world. If you have a document, you can label it, and you can also change the label. You can downgrade the label. You can make a document from highly confidential to general. It's a way to bypass some controls. We've seen this behavior happen. So behaviors like that will now be available through these tables, so that SOC analysts can now understand what else is an attacker doing, on their data. Are they doing all these activities to bypass the controls and things like that? So these tables bring in new data, new visibility, and it will help you detect new patterns, new types of risks from a data standpoint. So I think this is one of the most powerful aspects of this integration, where we are putting the data itself in the hands of the customer and exposing it through the KQL interface.
And then, of course, they can learn all the other tables that exist that might be interesting to join and get some additional insights out.
Yeah, and also I think, Eike, we already showed some examples in the Ninja Show episode. Again, I recommend you to watch. We shared some examples. How can you correlate together? I mean, for example, user data within the tables together with the data security tables that Sravan mentioned. So totally agree.
Not to forget, I don't know how many times I said this, my favorite feature, custom detections, something new for not Defender XDR people.
Yeah, correct. And just one word about that. I mean, especially I think, and Sravan might elaborate about that, but especially for data security scenarios. I mean, IRM covers, I mean, really a lot of scenarios. But especially, because of the thing I mentioned before, these correlation capabilities can provide now, especially for IRM analysts, a new area to expand into it, and some of those new correlations might really be interesting as an alerts to investigate as well, and not just as hunting queries. So I think
Mm.
especially for data security, the custom detections can be very powerful here.
Mm. I got another question. So, what reporting and visualization capabilities does Defender XDR offer for tracking insider risk trends?
So I'm not sure what trends I mean in this specific context, but in general, we added a new alert page which shows you for each and every specific alert all the relevant information that you have in IRM. That means that you will have the backward compatibility and all these features that you used to see, and all the information regarding these alerts, whether it's the risk factors or the triggering events and the all the insights and the behaviors, what we called in IRM side insights and the events. All of this will be part of the IRM alert page in XDR. Regarding trends, so I'm not sure what it means. Maybe something more wider regarding the whole I don't know, insider threat in XDR. So currently we don't have something specific to that, but of course we are opening for the next phases of the integration to think about that. And please again share more about that, and we will love to learn and think about that.
Yeah. Thank you. So, another question is, how does Defender XDR ensure compliance with data privacy regulations while monitoring insider activities?
So as Sravan shared, we are as XDR, we have, as our viewers already know, we have two different permission system, right? We have this unified RBAC, which allow you to actually manage your permissions right within XDR without any other place in general. And for purview, and this is correct for DLP and for IRM, we are actually asking purview, hey, does this analyst have permissions? So as far as we are okay with purview side, so we are compliant also in XDR side, because this is exactly the same permissions. Okay, so there's
Nobody needs to do something in there, because all the permissions granted on the data and in respect to data privacy and such has been configured on the purview side. In the XDR side, even if the data is synchronized or copied over, I don't know how to say it. If someone doesn't have the permissions, they don't see that. So, and then of course,
correct.
yeah.
We are. I mean, as I said, we are kind of asking a purview of this analyst have the eligibility to access this data. So as again, it's just it's the same as we have on purview side.
So another question: was there any announcements at Ignite related to this? Talk about those for a minute, if so. So please.
Sravan is the one visited.
Yes, who celebrated?
So yeah, we had a very exciting announcement at Ignite. Exciting, I say, because content is always exciting to me. But even there was a lot of excitement with the audience when we started sharing these stories first on how this integration will help. The answer is yes. We had a breakout session at Ignite announcing the integration of insider risk management capabilities into XDR. And the focus of the session is to explain to analysts on how this integration benefits them in terms of correlated incidents, advanced hunting. So we gave a set of examples for each of them, and maybe treat it like an extended version of the last episode we had. It's around the same time, but yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I just a note about that. I mean, as Sravan said, in the episode we really dive into a specific scenario. Which what interesting me at least I think is that it's not only showing how valuable it is for the IRM analyst, but also for the SOC analyst. There are so many scenarios. Sravan mentioned the advanced hunting data. Sravan really made an amazing job on showing how this, uh, raw data might be really usable, not just for data security scenarios, but just for regular scenarios that we are used to see in XDR. So again, really recommend to watch the episode. I think we covered there. I mean, the most of the important things we announced.
So people can still register for online to get to the on-demand content at Ignite, and then I would assume someone can then search for insider risk management, or do we have a
The name
title?
of the session is Data Security for Security Operations Centers.
Okay, thank you.
So that's the name of the session, and yeah, they can look it up online. Even I think it's present in YouTube also. No.
Oh, okay. And then there's a comment or a question. We talked about RBAC, role-based access control. There was like, please elaborate on the RBAC of the integration. Anyone wants to elaborate on that? Sravan.
Yeah, maybe I can take that. So this question comes a lot, to be very honest with you, because everyone is concerned on, hey, you're sending the data to another portal. Like, is that will more people get access to it? I want to address that first. If you turn on this integration, the same people who has access to data before this integration will continue to access this data after the integration. No change in that whatsoever. What I mean by that is the criteria to access insider risk management data in Defender is to have a permission called insider risk analyst and insider risk investigation. These are the two permissions you need for a user to access this data in XDR. Both these permissions has to be assigned in the Purview portal. And apart from having these permissions, either directly assigned or inherited, there is no other way to access this data. So it is fairly restricted right now. You have complete control of who can access this data in XDR. And the control is same as in Purview. No change to that regime.
So, the Defender people out there, maybe, because we started with RBAC with one product, two products, and then now we have RBAC, across our Defender suite in Defender XDR. Right now, in order to set the Purview permissions, you go to Purview. So there is no RBAC settings configuration done in the XDR portal. It is all coming over from the permissions from Purview.
That is correct. And this is true not just for insider risk management, but for all Purview solutions integrating into XDR, which includes TLB. That's the approach we're taking.
Yes, correct. Another question. What data sources and telemetry does Defender XDR ingest to establish a comprehensive data security context for insider risk analysis?
So maybe you can elaborate a bit about what actually those tables contains and the events and the behaviors.
Sure. So the way insider risk solution analyzes the risk is we tap into the telemetry directly from the workload. And we are especially talking about the user activity telemetry, right? When a user does an action, let's say on a SharePoint or an Exchange, or even in Fabric for that matter, we tap into the telemetry, we ingest it. That is step one. Step two, that raw telemetry is enriched with a whole bunch of intelligence, right? For example, if you upload a file to the cloud, we try to understand what type of domain is that. Is that a risky domain? Is that your own enterprise domain? Things like that. So two steps. We tap into the raw telemetry from a whole bunch of workloads. And the primary workloads we focus on M365 workloads, your endpoints, Fabric. And this is a continuously expanding list. Every 3 months we keep ordering or we keep onboarding new workloads there. The second thing is we add a bunch of enrichment on the top of this, and all this raw logs and enriched logs are ingested into Defender. That is step one. Not just that, we don't just stop at the raw logs. We also go a level further and we start aggregating them to try to understand patterns. For example, is this anomalous compared to what the user has done 5 days back or 10 days back in the last 30 days? So these are called behaviors. This is like a synthetic data. So we also make that available. And both this data is what Defender XDR ingests to understand insider risks generally. So that is the explanation of what data we ingest today.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and just a note about that. Actually, what Sravan described is kind of a mirror to those three levels of data that we have in XDR, right? We have the event, which is the really logs, as Sravan mentioned that. This is the telemetry, right? And we have the second level, which in IRM side calls insights, and we translated that into behaviors in XDR, and we have the alert. So we have, those are three levels which we are providing you also, not just in advanced hunting, but also in the alert page to give you the full context of the alert.
Can we go a little bit, because there might be people out there that haven't seen yet the episode and might go and watch it later, but can we get a little bit better understanding of the practical use case of a data security analyst? Why are they now going to the XDR portal? So what is the real use case? What is the benefits, and what would be a practical case where they use advanced hunting? I know, Maayan, you mentioned this. We shared a couple of examples in the episode, but maybe we can quickly summarize this again, so someone really, okay, now this makes sense to me to hop over to the XDR portal, because they feel
I can
lovely.
share my screen, by the way, Sravan. So are they able to share my screen for an example, and we can elaborate about that a bit? What do you think?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
We don't know what screen you're sharing, Maayan, so let's see what it is.
Let me see if I can do that. Let's see. Oh, it's two monitors. Sorry.
Technical glitch.
Yeah, but I will try to do that, Sravan. Maybe we can start just trying to explain the example without seeing the query, and I will try to
let me
share
explain
it
that, right? Let me give you the first scenario. So today, let's say when an analyst is a data security analyst is investigating an alert in Purview, right? Let's take an example that there is an exfiltration that happened from the device, and a data security analyst wants to know what is happening with this device. Is this device compromised? Is there malware on this device? Because knowing that will help them understand whether this risk is coming from an employee, insider, or the risk is coming from someone, an attacker acting as an insider, right? That's one of the primary cases.
So you don't see that right now in Purview?
No, we don't. So
you don't have device insights, right? You see there was an exfiltration from device XYZ,
right.
But then in order to see, there is a vulnerability on the device, and you can see suspicious log-on activities and whatever, right. You don't have that.
Perfect. That's exactly how you explained. We don't have that today. Because the focus of Purview is always on figuring out the data-related exfiltration risk itself. So this other part of the puzzle, which is what is happening with this device, like suspicious logons that you mentioned, that lies in Defender. Now we have customers before this integration who hops over to the Defender portal to look at this data to say, hey, what is Defender telling about this person or this device? And then they put that data together. And in fact, the integration idea came from there. Why to make them jump between two portals? Why not put it in the same place? That is the reason why a data security analyst might want to go into Defender, open up the insider risk alert, and right there, see all the supporting data right beside it, right? Everything in one place. They don't need to hop between portals there. That's one of the primary scenario that we heard. The second one is around advanced hunting. Today Purview offers a very limited hunting capability, but a full power of KQL getting unleashed on this data is another benefit that a data security analyst might have. And this is especially important when they're doing cross-cutting analysis. We gave an example of that even in our previous demo. If you want to benchmark, okay, let's say I've sent an email externally from the organization. Now, if you want to understand how many other users are communicating with the same email, it's like a cross-cutting pattern you're trying to understand, right? It's not possible to do that in Purview easily, but KQL provides a very powerful way to do that. That might be the second reason why data security analysts might want to come to XDR.
Thank you. There was a question, and I don't know, is there anything more in Defender XDR that helps you address the challenges in detecting insider threats across hybrid environments, including on-premise cloud, remote work setup, and so on? Is this, I mean, we talked about the machines now, and I think, of course, you can see that machine talks to this machine, and this machine might have had a connection to this machine. So more of the endpoint insights. Is this something that is additional help?
Maybe we can. I can think about the DLP integration. I think we mentioned it before. We already have an integration with Purview DLP, and maybe Sravan can say a few words about the difference. But also in Ignite and in the Ninja Show episode, we shared some common scenarios how DLP and IRM playing together in XDR to provide you with the full data security context. So I think DLP is the other the other side we have for providing you guys the whole data security context you need. Shannon, do you want maybe to say something about that?
Yeah. So maybe there's another benefit that is very important today, even to Purview customers, which is the data in Defender gets automatically integrated into Sentinel. There are ways to take this data and integrate it with your, let's say, systems like other SIEM solutions.
I heard it.
Yeah. You do get that example, right? So that is another benefit that a lot of customers are already taking advantage of, which is to leverage all these extensible API surfaces that we have to take the data out, both into our own Microsoft systems and third-party systems that they have, right? Because that's how the environment is.
Did you read that next question already? Did you know what I'm asking about? So what APIs or SDKs does Defender XDR provide for custom integrations into existing SIEM systems? So Maayan, what kind of APIs and SDKs do we have there?
Yeah, so we have the public API, the Graph API that you can use, of course, for consuming the alerts data. And that will be the same. I mean, the whole data that you can take, that you can get, in XDR portal, you get in the API. We are providing you with the option to query advanced hunting. We mentioned a few times the advanced hunting data. You can, of course, use the advanced hunting API to consume, to send the queries and get the results. And we are working on adding also support for streaming API, which will allow customers also to export this data for another products or for their own specific use case. So that will be also part of the solution in the near future.
But do we also have connectors, right, for most popular SIEM systems, or is this also via the API?
You mean from XDR to SIEM? So we do have. So maybe Sravan, you can address that. I mean, it's an important point about the Sentinel connector that this is part of something I think we should cover.
Yeah. So we do have an out-of-the-box connector, obviously, between XDR and Sentinel, and all this data will be included. When I say data, all the alerts primarily and the incidents will be included as a part of that connector. That's point one. And using Graph API, there are a bunch of connectors out there in the market to integrate with all the other SIEM systems. Now, since this data is also available through the Graph API, this data will also be available for those connectors to pull very easily, without much work. So all the connectors who are pulling data from XDR now can pull some important Purview data also. That's one way to see that capability.
Okay. So I think there was so far no question. So I want to give everyone now quickly, which means you, Sravan, and you, Maayan, final thoughts on that integration, on maybe some recommendations for people, try this out, do this, call for action, something like that.
No, definitely. So this is what I would encourage, because when we talk to a lot of SOC teams, for some reason, the data security is not the first place they look at. the data security is not the first place that SOC teams think about, because obviously they're overloaded with a bunch of other risks in the organization. But we're doing all of that to protect data. Protecting data is one of our primary responsibilities for most SOC teams. So I would say, go ahead, enable this integration, see what data is flowing in your tenant, and start playing around with how to integrate that. Right? I'm reasonably sure that this solves a very important piece of the whole puzzle, which is what type of data are these attackers accessing, and what are they doing with it? That's a puzzle that this integration will help you solve. So definitely try it out. Turn on two things you need to remember: enable the integration, make sure you have the RBAC, which is go get the RBAC from Purview.
Perfect. And then Maayan, any last thoughts?
Yeah, so of course I would love the customers to try the feature because Sravan and I love to build things, but not for ourselves, right? So of course, please try that. I think this is especially correct for this integration, as Sravan mentioned. Different organizations have their own structure, and who handle the data security side of the house, and therefore they have different scenarios and use cases that we can learn back from the customers, and I think how should we improve the integration, for example, new correlations and maybe new data and so on. So please use that and share your feedback. This is really, one of the most important input for us when we are coming to design the next steps.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you both for joining. Thanks everyone for joining. We have one episode tomorrow, which is about Defender for endpoint and RDP telemetry. There is a lot more coming into your data that you can use for hunting and getting alerts and so on. And then another one is another live AMA tomorrow, and we are going to talk about Purview again. Not with you, Sravan, but we will have Patrick David back, and we are going to talk about improving security posture management with Copilot, Security Copilot integration. And you can find everything under aka.ms/Ninja Show. And that's it. That's a wrap. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the questions, for showing up. And I hope I see many of you in the next episodes and AMAs. Bye.
Thanks, Heike, for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Heike. Bye, Maayan.